Now let's discuss question number 4, that is mention the ploidy of the following protonemal cells of a moss. Then we have primary endosperm, nucleus and dicots. Then we have to mention the ploidy of leaf cell of a moss, and then prothallus cell of a fern. Then gemma cell in Marchantia, meristem cell of monocot, ovum of a liverwort and zygote of a fern. So let's discuss the ploidy level of first thing, that is protonemal cell of a moss. Now what do you mean by protonemal cell of a moss? Now we know that moss is actually a bryophyte. Alright, now in case of bryophyte, the main plant body, the dominant phase, is actually a gametophyte. And if we are talking about the protonemal cell, then it is the earliest stage of development of gametophyte in case of mosses. And protonemal cell is a thread-like structure or a thread-like chain which is green filamentous and is a gametophyte. So protonemal stage or protonemal cell is the earliest stage of development of gametophyte of a moss. And as we know that any gametophytic plant body of any of the group of plants is actually haploid in nature, then all the cells present in a gametophytic plant body are haploid in nature. Thus we can conclude that protonemal, first of all if we write answer, then protonemal cell is a thread or chain of cell that is and is gametophyte and is gametophyte. Now, as we know that gametophytes of any plant body is actually haploid in nature, then we can conclude then the protonemal cell, the protonemal cell of moss or bryophyte is haploid in nature. Alright, next we have is primary endosperm nucleus in dicots. Now we know that dicot and monocots are two groups under the phylum or division Angiospermae in the kingdom Plantae. We know that angiosperms are the most advanced plants and they are also known as flowering plants. Angiosperms are further classified into two categories on the basis of presence of cotyledons in them. That is, if any group of plant is having only one cotyledon, then they are considered as monocotyledonous plants or simply monocots. And on the other hand, if any group of plant is having two cotyledons in them, then they are considered as dicotyledonous plants or simply dicots. Now, if we have asked the ploidy level of primary endosperm nucleus in dicots, we know that in gymnosperms, both in dicots and monocots, in whole gymnosperm group of plant, there is a reproductive structure called as flowers. Flowers can be bisexual or unisexual. In case of both unisexual or bisexual flowers, we know that there is a female reproductive structure present known as carpel or pistil. The carpel is composed of three parts, that is stigma, style and ovary. Inside ovary, which is the base or swollen part of carpel or female reproductive organ, inside ovary there is a cavity known as ovarian cavity. Inside ovarian cavity there is megasporangium or ovule is present in them. The ovule present in the ovarian cavity of a carpel or pistil in case of angiosperms is actually attached to the placenta with the help of a funicle. or a stalk known as funicle. Now, as we know that the ovule is considered as megasporangium in case of angiosperms. Inside the megasporangium or ovule, there is a special tissue present known as nucleus, and a special kind of cell is also present there, that is megaspore mother cells. These megaspore mother cells give rise to megaspore tetrad. These megaspore mother cells undergoing meiotic divisions will develop or give rise to megaspore tetrads. That means megaspores are being formed. Now, tetrad means the formation of 4 spores, 4 megaspores from megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cells are diploid in nature, and the spores formed from the megaspore mother cells are now haploid in nature. Among all 4 megaspores, among all 4 haploid megaspores, 3 of them gets degenerate, and 1 remains as functional. That one functional megaspore will give rise to embryo sac. That one remain functional megaspore, which is haploid, will give rise to an embryo sac. An embryo sac will have 7-celled 8-nucleated stage. This embryo sac have 7-celled 8-nucleated stage like this. You already are familiar with the structure of embryo sac. So this is your embryo sac, which is formed from single haploid megaspore. Now, this embryo sac have 7-celled 8-nucleated stage. On one end it have 3 cells like this, which are known as antipodal cells. On the another end it have egg apparatus made up of 3 another cells, that is known as egg apparatus, and the middle one in egg apparatus is known as egg cell, and the side 2 cells, the 2 cells are actually known as synergids. Now, this egg cell is containing egg or female gamete inside it, and now in the center of this embryo sac we have 2 nuclei present in center. Alright, 2 nuclei are present in the center, which is known as central cell in the embryo sac. These 2 nuclei are known as polar nuclei. These polar nuclei fuses together to form a secondary nucleus, Let's suppose they are fused. Let's suppose they have fused like this and they formed secondary nucleus. Now the ploidy level of this nucleus will be 2n. Alright. Now what happens after the formation of male gamete inside anther, or we can say in male reproductive structure? The pollen grains or male gametes are being transferred to the embryo sac. The male gametes are being transferred to the embryo sac to get fertilized with the egg cell present in the embryo sac in egg apparatus. Let's suppose this is your male gamete. Male gamete has came and 2 male gametes we have. Alright, 2 male gametes are present in a pollen grain. One male gamete is fuses with the egg cell to form a zygote. The remaining 1 male gamete gets fuses with this diploid nuclei or nucleus present in the central cell of embryo sac. Now let's suppose this male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus. 2n plus n or nucleus of male gamete, when fuses with each other, they form triple N condition. We know that this is the secondary nucleus containing 2n fuses with the haploid nucleus of sperm. It forms triple N condition or triploid condition. This formed structure from the fusion of this diploid or secondary nucleus and haploid nucleus of male gamete is known as primary endosperm endosperm nucleus, or in short we can call it PEN. So now it is clear that the ploidy level of PEN or primary endosperm nucleus will be 3N, triploid. It is triploid in condition. Now, if we talk about the leaf cell, next is leaf cell of a moss. We have to find the ploidy level of a leaf of a moss. As we know that in case of moss, which is a group of plant under bryophyte phylum, so we know that moss have dominant face or dominant plant body as gametophyte. Gametophytic plant body means haploid plant body. That means the whole body containing each and every cell with only half set of chromosome in them or haploid nucleus in them. So if any gametophytic plant body of a moss is haploid in nature, then each and every cell of that gametophytic plant body or of a moss is haploid in nature. So leaf cell of a moss is also haploid in nature, as it is a part or it is present on the gametophytic plant body of a moss. So it is simply haploid in nature. Next, come towards the ploidy level of a prothallus of a fern. Now, prothallus of a fern means it is a gametophytic plant body which is formed from the gametophyte, alright, which is formed from the gametes. Now, let's discuss. Now, if we talk about fern, we know that in case of fern, the male plant body or the dominant plant body is sporophyte. This sporophyte, the sporophytic plant body of a fern will give rise to spores, will give rise to haploid spores. Now these haploid spores, each of these haploid spores will germinate and form gametophytic plant body. This gametophytic plant body is also known as prothallus. Now, as we know that gametophytic plant body is haploid in nature and is known as prothallus, so gametophytic plant body of fern or prothallus of a fern is actually haploid in nature. So ploidy level of prothallus cell of a fern would be haploid. This will also be haploid. Now, next we have gamma cell in Marchantia. Now, what is Marchantia? Marchantia is a liverwort, is an example of liverwort. Now, gamma cell is actually part of asexual reproduction. Gamma cell is a part of gamma cup. Gamma cups are the structure in which the gamma buds are being produced in Marchantia, through which Marchantia or liverworts can reproduce asexually. So these gamma cups are also haploid in nature, as in liverworts. The main plant body or the dominant plant body is also a gametophyte. So being gametophyte as their main plant body or dominant plant body, the gamma cups present on the main plant body gametophyte are haploid in nature. Thus, each and every cell, including gamma cell, are haploid in nature. So these are also haploid in nature. So let's write here gamma cell. Gamma cells are also haploid in nature. All right. Protonema cell are also haploid in nature of moss. If we talk about the endosperm nucleus, primary endosperm nucleus, that is triploid in nature. Leaf cell of a moss is haploid in nature. Prothallus of fern is also haploid in nature. Then the gamma cell of Marchantia is also haploid in nature, because the dominant phase, the dominant plant body in them is gametophyte. Then come towards the next ploidy level of meristem cell of monocot. Now, meristem cell of monocot. Let's come towards the monocot and dicot. As we know that angiosperms are the most advanced plants, and the angiosperms have their dominant phase or dominant plant body as sporophyte, which is diploid in nature. Now, we know that the sporophytic plant body is diploid in nature, and each and every cell, the leaf cell, the stem cell, the flower cell, each and every cell present on the sporophytic plant body is also being diploid in nature. So, if we talk about the meristem cells are the totipotent special cells which will give rise to different parts or structures of the plant and helps the elongation and development of plant. So meristem cells are the totipotent cells present on the sporophytic plant body of angiosperms only. Now, as we know that the main plant body of monocot as well as dicot plants in case of angiosperms is sporophyte in nature, and the sporophytic plant body are diploid in nature. Now, each and every cell present on the sporophyte of monocot and dicot are diploid. So, hence, we can conclude that meristem cells of monocot are also diploid in nature. So, meristem cells of monocot as well as dicot are diploid in nature, because they are the part of sporophytic plant body, and sporophytic plant body is diploid in nature. Then second last we have is ovum of a liverwort. Ovum means egg cell or female gamete, and they are talking about a liverwort. We know that liverwort are having their main plant body as gametophyte, and the gametophytic plant body is haploid in nature. If gametophytic plant body is haploid in nature and is producing sex organs, female sex organ as well as male sex organ, then the respective gametes, female gamete as well as the male gamete formed inside the female reproductive structure and male reproductive structure would be haploid always, as the main plant body, the dominant plant body in case of liverworts is haploid in nature. Thus we can say the ovum or egg cell or female gamete produced on the female gametophyte of a liverwort would also be haploid. So ovum of liverwort is haploid in nature, because it is being produced inside female reproductive organ, that is archegonium, and archegonium is a part or a structure present on the female gametophyte which is haploid in nature. Then the last is zygote of a fern. Zygotes are always diploid. Even in lower plants, if zygote is forming during the sexual cycle, sexual reproduction, then zygotes are always diploid. Without exception, zygotes are always diploid in nature. So we have completed the solution of question 4, and this is a complete answer.